This video is going to cover the daily routine I use to scale a coaching business to 7 figures in less than 1 year. And it's going to be a little bit different than most of the videos that I put out or other people put out. It's going to be more of a fundamental approach rather than a how-to video type of approach, because I don't think a lot of people talk about what it actually takes to do this. And this has been one of the most in-demand videos from my high-ticket paying clients. So figured I would put it out here and show you and walk you through how to do it. So with that being said, let me just move myself out of the way and jump into it. I've got 5 steps I want to cover with you in here. But the first one I want to cover is dominating your calendar. So I'm going to move this over. We'll focus in on this particular one right here. And when it comes to building a business, you're going to have to make sacrifices up front, and you also have to be dialed in. And that's what I really want to cover with you on here, is how to be extremely dialed in as you're building this business. So the first thing is I have dominating your calendar, and I'm going to show my calendar when I first started this company as a single, just by myself, and how I grew it to the point where what my calendar is like right now when I have a full team, how all of that looks, so you can see more of like the fundamental approach of how all of this plays out. So disclaimer, what works for me doesn't mean it will work for you. In fact, most of this probably won't work for you guys. This is just what's worked for me, and you got to figure out what it is that's going to work for you. So this was my schedule when I first started this business. Every day I would wake up at 6 a.m. and then I would start my focused work. And my focused work would basically be my uninterrupted work. And I would do that for 2 to 3 hours every single day, because as you're building a business, you're the one doing the sales, you're doing fulfillment, you're building the systems, you're doing the marketing, you're doing it all. So you need to have time where you can actually fulfill and better your product. And the way that I structured this would be, let's just say this is a typical Monday through Friday, is I would at minimum have 2 hours every single day of just not talking to anyone, just heads down, just getting stuff done. And for me, I put 3 hours on here, 7 until 10. You can really get a lot of stuff done in that time period. But usually from 10 until 3, I would open up for a sales block. So obviously you got to eat lunch, but when you're making sacrifices, when I was doing this, my lunch was on sales calls pretty much every single day. And this is how you can take, if you have hour-long calls, you have 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hours, 6 hours worth of sales calls, but still be able to run a business. And this is what a lot of my clients do when they first get started, is they do all their sales, so they need to be able to fulfill too. And then what I have from there is I'll have 2 hours worth of, if I have any client calls, whatever it might be, right? Now, obviously, you have, depending on how your business is actually structured, and we can go in that in another video, is you're going to be able to, for example, if you have your business structured like you have coaching calls Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. EST, obviously you could slap that in here, do your lunch on those calls, quick little reset, and then get back into sales. But when I first started this company, I was working one-on-one with everyone because I was dialed in, making sure that my clients got the best results. And the only reason I did that was because I wanted them to get better results, because the more case studies I had, the better my marketing would be and the more I could sell my program for. So I was straight all in, and I would always make time for the gym. So sometimes I would go a little bit earlier. Sometimes I would switch it out if I had a break around in here where a call canceled or something. But I would always prioritize the gym. And most of the time, I didn't get to the gym until about 6 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock. And then after the gym, that was more of a reset period. And it's very important that you're not just taking calls, for me at least, that I'm not just taking calls sporadically throughout the entire day, because I know myself and that would lead to the biggest burnout. Now, as you're looking at this, you're like, wow, if I did this every single day, I would lead to a burnout. And you're right. But I didn't do this every single day. This was about the first quarter of the business, and then I'll show you kind of like how I built upon it. But there's very important that you have time to actually reset. And for me, I'll talk to you a little bit more about my schedule now as I run this company. And just to give you context, first year in business, this company did 1.4 mil. This year we are projecting to do 3 to 4 mil. And I will say as well, this isn't my first time running a business. I've ran previous businesses as well, but this is my main business now, and I want to share with you guys everything that we're learning along the way. So you got to have your time, and I think the biggest thing is actually have a time where you actually say this is the time I'm going to bed. Because if you leave it open, then you're not actually going to go to bed at that time. You might watch some more TV. You might end up talking a little bit more. You might get your laptop out, and then your sleep is deprived. And that was a big thing for me, is I always wanted 8 hours of sleep. So if I could go to bed at 10, I could wake up at 8. It's roughly about 8 hours in bed. Now, sometimes these lasted a little bit longer, but I always made sure that I was up at 6. Sometimes sleep did lack with that, but I did my best that I could around it. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is building systems around your ideal business lifestyle. And when you do this the right way, this is actually going to help you visualize how you want to build this business and build it into what you want. And that's where I'm at in my business. Is I built it exactly what I wanted because I took time to realize how I wanted to run my business. So you want to take time to visualize and write down exactly how you want to run your business, so you can actually, how it will be in like 12 months from now. So you can reverse engineer it. The whole point is figure out where you want it to be in 12 months and reverse engineer it, and then start using it like a puzzle piece to place in the pieces, hire the right employees, systematize the right things. Because when you're starting a business, or let's just say you're kind of all over the place right now, you're not going to be able to do it overnight. You have to have like goals when it comes to this and actually see what you want to do. Right. So to give you context, my business now, we do around $200K a month. Some months are bigger, some months are a little bit lower, if I'm being honest with you. But on average, we're doing about $200K a month inside my coaching business right now. And this is my schedule, and this is a schedule that I've always wanted. And it's pretty in tune with this every single day. So usually I wake up at 6, depending on what's going on. Maybe I have for example, like I just had my birthday last weekend. Parents were in town. We were going out to dinner every night. So, with that week, if I'm being honest with you, I was waking up more around 7. But since we're a little bit more dialed in, it's usually around 6 o'clock I wake up. And then from 7 until 11, I give myself about an hour to wake up. I usually try not to drink coffee until about an hour after I wake up. I do my breath work, my morning routine, whatever, my reading in the morning in this hour period. And that's all I need. If I wait any longer, I kind of just get anxious and I start doing stuff anyway. So again, you got to figure out what's best for you. Some people like waking 3 hours in the morning before they do anything. They like going to the gym in the morning. I did that, but for me, I noticed that I am most productive mentally in the morning, especially from 6 until 12, because I don't eat food. I fast during that time. And that's when I am just the most productive. And I hammer out stuff like videos like this, trainings, whatever it might be. Calls are later on. I'll explain that here in a second. But right now, 7 till 11 is just focus work. I do not put any calls on my calendar unless I absolutely have to. Those are just times where I'm just focused. I'm getting stuff done. And I highly recommend, once you get to the point of this, you'll see it's amazing how much progress and how much you can build in this time period of just focus work. When you're not having to answer anybody on Slack, any text messages, no calls, no nothing. I have all distractions turned off from this time period. Now from there, then I'll probably take a little bit, like a 30-minute break, maybe walk outside, get a little reset, and then I will take calls from 12 to 3. That's when I open up calls on my calendar, whether that's coaching calls, whether that is specific one-on-one client, VIP client calls, team member calls. Most of the time, if I'm being honest with you, my time now for calls isn't with clients other than VIP clients. It is with team members, because I'm managing a whole team, which I'll share with you how that team works here and how it's set up here shortly. But always make time for the gym. I try to get to the gym around 3 if I can, like right when I'm done with calls, because that's usually the time before all the crazies get in there, the 4 to 5ers, the 9 to 5ers, if you call them. So usually I try to be in the gym at like 3. In a perfect world, I'm in there at like 2. And then maybe I'll come back and get a little bit work done. But usually it's from 12 to 3, I'm on calls, and then 4 to 5:30, I'm in the gym. Now, again, this is majority of the time. There's definitely times where I have other things that are bigger important where after the gym I come back and I start working a little bit more. It really depends. Like I built out a low ticket funnel, and that took about a month to build out everything. And during that month, it was like this schedule, but after the gym I was coming back and I was working on copy, I was working on other things because it was a whole process creating that, right? But for the most part, 80% of my schedule looks like this. And then 6 to 9, I just reset. I spend time with my girlfriend. Her name's Grayson. And we eat dinner, we chill, we go for a walk. We might go to the movies, we might go to dinner, whatever it might be. This is more of a reset time. And then 10 o'clock, bedtime. Again, very similar. I think the other thing is I still take lunch on calls. I think the dumbest thing you can do is take a lunch break. It's like, unless it's like a 15-minute break, but I'm usually taking lunch on calls. So step 3 is to this equation is actually stacking cash. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Is stacking cash. The biggest mistake business owners make are really 2 things. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of mistakes, but the 2 things I see over and over and over again is not stacking enough cash to invest in their business. As you grow your business, it will require more investments into your business. Let me say that again. As you grow your business, you will have to put more money in your business. You will have to have money set aside for mistakes when you have employees. It's part of business and it's part of more leverage inside your business, because the more leverage you have, the more impact you can have. And a lot of people look at their business and think that once they start making money, they're just going to pocket everything. And that's not the case. You have to reinvest in your business. You have to reinvest into marketing, team members, coaches, consultants, mentors. You have to buy stuff, because also if you don't, guess what happens? You get hit with a bill from Uncle Sam, and instead of giving that money into skill sets and learning new things, you're giving it to the government. So it doesn't really make too much sense. And that's why I'm a big believer of any time when I need, if I have excess money, like I was doing this for the longest time, is just putting it back into coaches, consultants, learning more stuff until you get to the point where there's not really too much more you can learn. And I don't mean that in an unbiased way. It's just like where I'm at, I know exactly what I need to do to go from 200K a month to 500K a month. And then from 500K a month to 100K a month, I'm sure I'll probably need another coach from there, but I know exactly what I need to do now. And that's a really good feeling to say too, because I've already invested a lot of the money into it. And then the other thing is hiring too early. Most people hire way too early. I'm going to walk you through the whole hiring process that I recommend and how to do it and when to do it. But step 3 is very simple. Stack cash. Just stack cash. Try to just be as lean as you possibly can, which goes into step 4, which goes into the hiring process. So let me move these things away so we can just look at this. There we go. So step 4 is we go back to the stacking cash so you can hire more and remove yourself. My current setup and recommendations are this. So inside my business, we have 2 setters. We have 2 sales reps. I have 2 client success managers, 1 operation manager who's also one of these client success managers. So this is really this person does this as well. And then I have 2 VAs and I have an executive assistant. This is how my business runs. Now, I will say I do have some freelancers on the side too, like video editors, copywriters, things like that, but I don't pay them on a full-time basis. Everybody is a contractor inside my business. Nobody is on payroll. They're all contractors, which I would highly recommend you do inside your business until you can't do that, basically. Here's the recommended hiring structure I have for you, and what we give all of our clients is when you're from 0 to 25K a month, that needs to be all you. Stack cash, stack cash, stack cash is what you should be thinking inside your brain right here. 0 to 25K a month, all you. You should be operating at least 80% profit margins at this point. 20% can go into ad spend, maybe more if you're being a little bit more aggressive. But you could also have 1 VA if you need. And when I say VA, virtual assistant, someone that you're paying $3 to $5 an hour completely up to you. I recommend if you're going to bring on a VA, make sure it's paid on the hourly basis rather than just paying them full time for them to work a fourth of the time. I've made those mistakes. The next is once you get to 25 to 50K a month, bring on a setter. And a setter should be the one that manages all of your lead flow and just books out your calendar. Once your calendars are consistently booked out and you're doing about 50K a month, you should be bringing on a client success manager. Now, notice how I didn't bring on a sales rep in here. I think that should be one of the last positions you should hire if you can. Ideally, a setter and CSM first. And then once you have 100K cash in the bank, in your business bank account, then hire a closer. That way, one, you have the proof that your system works. Two, you have KPIs that you know that you can hold your setter and closer accountable for. And three, you have money set aside. So when you bring on a closer, you can expect a dip. When you bring on a closer or a setter, you are going to have a dip in sales. I promise you. I have not seen that not happen. No matter how good of a closer, no matter how good of a setter, you always have a dip and it always freaks you out and you think everything's broken. But in reality, it's just a training process. And usually it takes 3 to 5 months to really ramp somebody up to fully understand your product and your services. So once you hit the 100K mark, give or take, you might want to bring on an operations manager, a systems manager, whatever it might be. And then, I put on here 100K plus. That's really where you need to be consulting with an expert. I put myself in here because we work with a lot of people that are doing over 100K a month. We've also helped quite a bit of people go from literally 0 to 100K a month. So everything I'm sharing with you here isn't just for my business, it's what we've taught to our clients as well. And I talked about that. You will see a deep dip in sales whenever you bring on a new setter or closer. And then step 5, which is scale. I call this part the scale like Christian Bale, if you will. So this is similar to the stack cash step. You will be investing back into your business to scale, meaning some months are going to be what we consider growth months, and some months are going to be more profitable months. So you got to also think about that, as not every month is going to be a direct correlation of up in profitability. You're going to have some months where you spend more on ads. You're going to have some months where you spend more time investing in new team members, and you're going to expect cash flow to go down because there's going to be mistakes, right? Same thing with sales. So you got to be expecting that. Like when you bring on a new sales rep in your business, it's an investment into your business. You might not think that it's going to cost you money, but I promise you it will cost you money. And that's why I say stack up as much cash as you possibly can inside your business. Because one of the biggest myths is every month you make more money, you become more profitable. It's not true. You have higher highs, lower lows, higher highs, lower lows, and eventually your lower lows get lower and you become high, like it increases your success in your business, and that could be profitability. But typically as you start scaling, your ROAS goes down, your cost per acquisition goes up, your cost per leads go up. Everything usually goes up and gets more pricey, but that's okay because you're bringing in more on the front end, you're getting more leverage. So, we have some clients that when they're coming to us, they're spending less than, let's say they're spending 10K a month on ads, right? And they're getting like a 10x return on ad spend, which is phenomenal. Some clients, we had a client, I'll give a perfect example. He's spending about $3,000 a month on ads right now, but he's getting a 17x return on ad spend. And I told him, as he grows, he's not going to have a 17x return on ad spend. If he's at a 10x, that's phenomenal. If he's at a 5x, that's great. But think about it. If you're at 100K a month, and if you're spending $100,000 a month on ads and you're getting a 5x return on ads, that's $500,000 a month. And you're paying 100, you have $400,000 that is going into the bank account. Obviously, you got to pay your team and things like that. But it's the same concept of if you had a 5x return when you're doing, 5K a month, 25K and 5K, it's really not that big of a difference. Usually you have higher numbers as you're spending less, and the more you spend, your numbers usually on the return side go down, and a lot of people panic and think it's broken, when in reality, that's how you actually, scale a business. So keep that in mind as you grow, is the more you spend, the the more pricey things are going to be. But that's part of scaling a business, right? Like if you're spending $250,000, if you're spending $500,000 a month on ads and you're able to get a 2x return, well, that's $1 million a month business, right? So that's where, like, if you talk to business owners that are doing $1 million a month, they're spending a lot on the front end, but they're way more profitable because they're getting a 2x return. When the 2x return doesn't seem like a lot, it is when you're putting up bigger numbers like that. So that's a whole nother conversation for another one. If those numbers are above your head, don't worry. We can talk, more realistic numbers. Maybe if you're at 10K a month, you should be aiming for a 5 to 10x return. That is pretty solid. A 5x is pretty average, to be honest with you. Our clients, on average, everyone that works with us until they get up to 100K a month, they're getting a 8x return on ad spend right now, on average. Some are higher, some are lower. But if you can get 8, that is phenomenal. At this point, you really scale just to get your time back, and you need a team of A players. That is one of the hardest parts about growing a business, is having a team of A players and building a culture of people that want to be around you and want to grow and have the same mission as you. At this point, you should have paid ads consistently working is when you're ready to scale, meaning you're putting $1 in, you're getting at least $2 back every single time. Note, as you scale, your ROAS will decrease. We talked about that. Don't get butthurt about it. Expect it's part of growing a business. And I want you to think about it like this. Scaling is an art, and it's something that can't properly be explained in just some video lessons or some online course. You need to have a mentor at this point to help you navigate through the scaling zone and help you avoid common mistakes, because at this point, it's not really the how-tos. Usually once you get to a level, you understand the how-tos are all the same for the most part. It's more of avoiding mistakes. And that's what, I have a couple of mentors. There's one I pay $2,500 a month, and I paid him that for the last 4 years because he's helped me avoid a lot of the mistakes. And that's essentially what it comes down to, is finding the right type of person. It doesn't have to be me, even though that is exactly what me and my company do, is we help you avoid the mistakes that we've made and we see our clients make. We've worked with over 1,000 online businesses at this point, so there's a lot of common mistakes. But the point is, it doesn't have to be me. It can be whoever you want, but you need to find a mentor because you can't see your blind spots, right? And if you never experienced something before, why make that same mistake when you can just pay to shortcut your learning curve and bypass it? Like, that's the way I look at it. And that's what all successful business owners that are doing millions of dollars a year think about. They think about, how do I shortcut my learning curve with this? How do I get the result faster? How do I avoid the mistakes? How do I avoid the landfalls? Because that's the difference between someone that's stuck at 6 figures and someone that's at 7 figures. They understand money is just a tool. Money is just a tool to shortcut your learning curve in this space. And once you adapt that mentality, you get a lot faster results. Like I said right here, most of scaling is just avoiding the landfalls or landmines, it should say. The way around it is just by hiring someone you can ask questions to and bounce ideas off of. So there you guys have it. This is, let me zoom out real quick. This is the daily routine I use to scale to 7 figures in less than 1 year. This is more of the fundamental approach, but I hope you guys found value in this. If you did, check out the links below this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.